Hi, I'm Sherry Henley. Thank you for joining us on Business Over Coffee. I am so delighted to be with you today to talk about focus on purpose. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Business Over Coffee. This is the Sharing with Sherry segment, a time for me to be able to communicate with you from the heart. I am a businesswoman, a professional, but I am also a very introspective, inspirational, developmental type of person. I love to develop people, to help people reach their fullest potential. And the topic I chose for today in this segment of Sharing with Sherry is focus on purpose. And I tie that in with my dear friend who is the co-host on this show. You'll see her a little later on. I tied it in with her topic, which is living on purpose. How do we live on purpose if we're out of focus? It's impossible. So we must learn to adjust the lens of our life so that we can get a good focus on where we're going. I like to call it focus for your future. Now, I've been around people that have actually either lived in the past or lived in the future, and they forget to enjoy the moment. So one of the nuggets I would like to leave with you today is to enjoy the moment by focusing on the moment first. Then focus for your future. Look ahead and imagine where you would like to be in 6 months. And Shelley Baur, again, ShelleyBaur.com is fabulous in helping you discover that living on purpose once you've found your focus. So how do we find our focus? I suggest you become more introspective. Sit down, take a pen and paper and write down 3 things that you do best. What are you called to do? What is your mission in life? I found my mission in life, and that is bringing everyone together. That is the mission for Business Over Coffee International, but it is also my personal mission as an individual. Because as we bring everyone together and we all connect and we all begin to work together, we increase the focus for everyone and it all comes into one big picture. It's like putting a puzzle together. If there's a piece missing, then the picture's not complete. So let's complete the puzzle and let's bring it all into focus. I work one-on-one with individuals who are looking to find a way to be an expert in social media, to be an expert in business and building their business and those type of things. But I also love to hear people's story about where they came from, where they're going, what they're struggling with. I've been through depression in my life. In my early 20s, I was totally clinically depressed, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I had to find focus for my life. I had to be able to grab hold of what was inside me, the gifting that God has given me to be able to be the best me I can be. Before I can ever reach out to someone else, I must be able to find that person inside me. And once that's discovered, I can then move into hearing your story and being able to take you under my wing through our Professional Boost Intern program and work with you or applaud you as you're spreading your wings and you're flying because you have found focus on what you do best. There's no one like you. You are a unique individual. I am the only Sherry that is like this Sherry. You are the only you that encompasses everything that's inside you. I tell my children, I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I have bonus children as well. And I tell them, there's something in life that you can do that no one else can do because you're an individual. God made you unique. So celebrate your uniqueness and focus for your future, focus in the moment, and live life to its fullest. Thank you so much for joining me for this segment of Sharing with Sherry. You can go directly to my website at sherryhenley.com, and I also encourage you to visit ShelleyBaur.com. You will hear more about her in the next segment. She will actually be interviewing Lynn McDonald, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
My name is Alex. I wanted to be an actor, but then I got involved in the wrong crowd, the wrong people. Made bad choices. I became a bad actor. But then I noticed Rising Fire Productions, and they made me the actor I am today. Since then, I've been able to get auditions and book roles. Thank you, Rising Fire.
If you see the signs of bad acting in yourself or someone you love, please don't wait until it is too late. Call Rising Fire for help today.
Welcome back to BOCI TV, and this segment is Communicating with Shelley. We have a wonderful guest today, Lynn McDonald, who is a licensed sales producer for Allstate Insurance, and more importantly, she's one of my favorite people on the planet Earth.
Shelley.
Lynn and I have known each other, since the early 2000s when I joined Business Network International, and Lynn was the founder of that particular chapter. So we came together to help each other build our businesses, but what happened was an amazing friendship and, quite frankly, the sister I never had. So I'm excited.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about living on purpose, both personally and professionally. And you've got lots to share because you've been through the program twice. But let's start first with the fact that when we met each other in BNI, I was just writing my first book, Integrity-Based Communications, Using Truth to Get What You Really Want. And I asked BNI members if they would donate a story that demonstrated one of the principles of integrity-based communications. Would you tell us a little bit about that, Lynn?
I sure would like to, Shelley. I had an Allstate agency in Madison, Wisconsin, and my daughter worked for me at the time. And I met my wonderful husband, Troy McDonald, at an Allstate convention. And we married, and I was coming to Memphis to be an Allstate agent here. So it was logical that my daughter would take over the business. And I am so grateful that my daughter had the gumption to tell her mom, you know, Mom, I just don't want to work this hard someday when I'm a mother. And I answered my daughter, you know, as a potential grandmother, I think that's a very good decision. So by her being honest, it just made both of our lives better. I didn't have the guilt of feeling like I had inflicted this gift on my daughter, and my daughter was able to live the life that she wanted as well.
And now you have two adorable little grandsons.
Well, actually more than that.
Well, I mean with Vicki.
Yes, my daughter Vicki has two adorable grandsons. But we have been truly blessed. I have to tell this cute story about integrity-based communication. One of the things Shelley has you do when you take her course is to produce a dream board. And it is absolutely amazing. I put it away. 5 years later, I dug it out and was shocked that everything that I had put on my dream board had come true. Now, the cute story is that between my husband and myself, we have 5 wonderful adult children. And in 2003, when I took Shelley's class the first time, I had a photo of the 5 adult children, and I put a caption under it, "Could we have a grandchild, please?" And we have been blessed. We just had grandchild number 7 and 8 in the last week of March, so we are truly blessed. And I don't know, putting it on the dream board, that one made it happen, but there were many things I put on the dream board that absolutely came true because I was focusing on them thanks to Shelley's class.
Thank you. You know, that's really what triggers the law of attraction, is when we get focused very clearly on what it is we want, instead of course, you've heard my story so many times, living by default and saying not this, not that. But when you get laser focused and you embed it into your subconscious mind, it just starts being like a magnet that pulls things in. So
I sure agree.
all those awesome babies. Well, Now, you sold the agency in Wisconsin to somebody else, and then you started an agency here in Memphis. And Troy now laughs and says, if I had been smart, I would have brought you into my agency right away. But in the meantime, you developed another agency, you sold it, and then you went to work for the Aaron McDonald Agency as a licensed producer.
Yes.
Tell us about Living on Purpose as it relates to Troy.
Well, Troy is just a wonderful person and really does try to please me. So for our anniversary 2 years ago, I said, all I want for my anniversary is for you to take Shelley's integrity-based communication course for couples. And I knew that it would be 4 Saturdays. My husband's an avid golfer, so I knew I was asking a big favor. So I asked Troy, would you just go to the first class? And he did. And in fact, he went to all 4 classes. And at the last class, he said, you know, I did this first class as a gift to my wife, but who knew it would turn out to be a gift for me?
You started crying.
It was very
so
touching.
Dear, it was. And what he said to me was, you know, as close as Lynn and I are, as much as we love each other, there's so many things that I didn't know about that were important to her. So Living on Purpose has really been a great 2-day experience for couples that are really happy and they want to just go to the next level, whatever that is.
Something else comical that happened in that class, we were talking about just asking for what you want. And I had a poster of Garrison Keillor coming to Memphis.
I remember
and that
this.
was on the refrigerator for a month, and he could just overlook it. So when we were talking about ask what you want, I said, Troy, I would really like to go to the Garrison Keillor presentation, and he said, well, here's my truth, quicker, faster. I don't really care to go. And it didn't hurt my feelings because in the audience, in Shelley's audience, 2 ladies' hands went up and said, I'll go with you, I'll go with you. And there's a case again. I got to go see the program. I enjoyed myself. Troy didn't have to go, which he really didn't want to go. And I had a wonderful night that time and made some new friends.
So telling your truth quicker, faster, and asking for what you want really lets you be more vulnerable and open the kimono and say, here's who I am, here's what I stand for, here's what I want and don't want, and to have the courage to do that so that people can really get where you're coming from.
You know, Shelley, something else I learned in 2003 when I took the class, and I guess I always knew it, but it has become part of my life, and that is, my word is my bond. And I wish everybody could take your class because that plays in my head at 5:59. We close our office at 6 o'clock. At 5:59, if that phone call comes through, I've made a commitment to do the best I can for the agency. And that's what'll keep me there, maybe till 6:30, 7 o'clock, finishing up, you know, quotes, things that I promised our customers. So I'm very grateful that you teach that in your course as well.
Well, thank you. You know, between B&I, Business Over Coffee, Sales Talk, our friendship, and our guys, our husbands are so different from one another. I mean, John is more introverted, professorial, and Troy is just off the wall, extroverted, and we just have such a blast together. We're looking forward to our first trip together.
You bet.
Yeah. So, any last words on Living on Purpose?
Well, I would recommend it to anyone in business, not in business, at a crossroads in their life. What is really important to me, that's what helped me in 2003 to determine what I was going to do next. So I'm very grateful for the course, Shelley. Recommend it to anybody. Great for couples. You just make it fun.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I always love being with you, but telling your story and hearing how it's worked for you just really makes my heart sing. So thank you, Lynn. And we will be back right after this break. Please be sure to come back. We've got another exciting segment.
Hey, this is Jamie Hall from Rising Fire Productions, here to tell you about In Frame, a weekly web show that we host every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. at www.risingfire.com.
And I immediately get worried. I immediately go, uh-oh.
We bring guests on to discuss the business of film, art, and entertainment.
You think about, okay, how many DVDs can I sell?
Join us every Sunday from 7 to 9 at risingfire.com.
Welcome back to Business Over Coffee. We just came out of a segment with Shelley Baur talking about living on purpose. And now we have a communications expert who you are no stranger to because she's been on one of our episodes before. Terry Murphy is with us to talk about living on purpose. And what I talked about in sharing with Sherry was focus on purpose. And now we have a woman of wisdom with the Women's Wisdom Network. So wrap all that up for us, Terry.
Well, what's interesting is that wisdom comes so late. It comes after we've walked the walk and we go, oh, don't do that. And what better way do we have to leverage the focus and the purpose than from people who've already been there? Now, even Gen Y and millennials are understanding that there is great value in connecting with people who have been there and done that. Remember I said, previous segment, I said experience isn't important to them until it's important to them?
Sure.
And, you know, you can break your leg, but as empathetic as I can be, I don't know what that is because I've never felt it. And so what if I could show you a way to shortcut the pitfalls, the problems, the upcoming challenges that you don't know you have, by giving you that insight from someone who's already been there and done that, willing to share from the heart.
Sure. So basically what we have here is a powerhouse team because we have living on purpose, we have focus on purpose over here for a topic, and then we have you for wisdom. So Shelley, in the living on purpose aspect of what Terry just said in the wisdom, take us there on that journey because I know I've heard your story.
Since I lived over half of my life by default going, not this, not that, not this, not that. It was, you know, shedding jobs, it was shedding relationships, a couple of husbands, you know, but once I got very, very focused on who I was, what I stood for, what my values were, it was just like, I mean, I was definitely on, I wasn't on Rock 103 anymore, I was on, you know, classic radio, and that's how John Baur came into my life.
Your husband?
Yes, and so when I had my first date with him, I said, getting married again is not a goal of mine. He said, well, I'm not in a hurry to do anything, but we were so aligned. We had both done our work, and by the time we met, it was like, we were married 7 months later.
Right. And you've been together for many
14 years, yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's pretty amazing.
So Terry?
Well, what you just said, it was the key to smart women, smarter choices, and that is you understood who you were. You understood what your boundaries were, which most women are very ambiguous about that because they're so flexible, because they're adaptable, because they're intuitive. See, but when you said, when I got clear with what I wanted, who I was, then he came into my life. And think about it. If you're just shopping, generally you never say, well, I'm just looking for one pair of red shoes, then you will see the red shoes. But you've got to be clear. And it's about your whole life, not just about who you choose.
So clarity, which brings it back to focus, where we talked about if you get out of focus on a camera, obviously it's a blurred picture. So when we bring everything into focus within ourselves, which is what I talked about during sharing with Sherry. And Shelley, you can comment on that focus piece that I elaborated on from in my early 20s, going from clinical depression, panic attacks, anxiety, and saying, wait a minute, this is not who I'm going to be. I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to find that person through wisdom. And that's how that evolves.
And really, when you get to the point of saying, what I have been doing has not been working for me, and if I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, I'm going to get the same results. So to say, this doesn't work for me, but instead of focusing on not working, it's still focusing on energy and keeping it there. It's to instead, if it's the flip side, you flip it over and say, this is what I will focus on. And it was on health and wholeness and wellness. And, you know, I had reconciled myself to the fact that I might be alone for the rest of my life. It's not what I wanted, but it was preferable to what I'd been experiencing. And once I got peaceful about that and said, well, if I'm going to be alone, I'm going to enjoy the company. So it was falling in love with myself, perhaps for the first time.
Sure. Sure.
That's another issue I think that women have to deal with, and that everybody's whiter, brighter, bigger, better, starry, or whatever. And really, it's all about makeup. But if we only understood our own intrinsic value of being that unique energy on this part of the earth, and then when you understand that you're just so much more purposeful about what you do, your opinion of me is not as important to me as my opinion of me. But when you're a kid and you're looking for peer pressure, if I could give one message to women, to people anywhere, it would be, you're okay, and if you don't like where you are, get where you want to go.
Yes, and how do you get there? And that is a piece that I learned over time in my evolution process. And that is rubbing shoulders, but not only rubbing shoulders, linking hands with people like Shelley Baur, and now the opportunity to link with Terry Murphy, and bringing those mentors into your life, executive councils that can add to what you're doing. If I have a question, I'm not going to hesitate to pick up the phone and say, Shelley, am I on the right track here?
Exactly.
And she's not going to hesitate to give me my truth quicker and faster.
Well, when we wrote The 1 Minute Entrepreneur, Don Hudson, the title of that book was The 1 Minute Mentor. And the only reason it changed was because of the publishers. But that whole book is based on the fact that Charlie Tremendous Jones, who, as you know, should have been a write at Epcot, Charlie was the mentor to both Ken Blanchard of The 1 Minute Manager and Don Hudson. And they wrote about that significant experience, that wisdom, that focus that came from him about living life large in a way that was purposeful. And that's how that book came about.
And the only way you can be a successful entrepreneur is to really know your purpose and your plan, which is what we had talked about before.
And I think you hit it when you said you've got to have a mentor. You've got to have a coach, a consultant. You can't assume that your view of the world is the only view, which I think is a limiting belief. I mean, if everybody on your block makes sausage and peppers on Sunday at noon, you think the whole world has sausage and peppers at noon, which is when you grew up in an Italian neighborhood. But other neighborhoods smell different. I mean, it's just a different thing. Right. So that broadness, that richness of context, the tapestry of everybody's experience makes you so much more focused.
So wrap this up for us by telling us about the Women's Wisdom Network.
Well, as you know, I had a life-changing experience where I got a concrete wall got in my way, and it took me out of walking for about 1.5 years. And when you're a girl that likes to strut in Manola Blahniks, it was a life-changing experience. So I thought, well, what can I do as I can't walk? So I started tapping the intellectual capital, the relational capital, and the wisdom of other people, not just women. And so I thought, what if there was a way that you could go to the internet for free and tap top experts? I have women that were the top privacy experts for like Best Buy. Well, you can't afford it. She's $500 an hour. Charlie Tremendous is on there. I mean, there are so many. Patricia Fripp is on there. There are people that can give you insights into something you might need in real time, anytime you want it. And that was my goal, is to help just leverage all that relational and intellectual wisdom.
That's amazing. How do we get there for the viewers?
Well, right now, we just built the new site. You were just looking at it.
I love it.
Yeah, it's women's, plural, womenswisdomnetwork.info. It will eventually go back to, because the old site's still up, unfortunately, but it's womenswisdomnetwork.info. And feel free to sign up. We've got a whole series of video training, ebooks, white papers, coaching. We're going to be doing monthly coaching calls for women. And when I say coaching, it's more consulting, because it'll be defined. But at the end of the day, you can't get better unless you invest in yourself, unless you invest in someone who already has the knowledge, or someone who can point you to where the knowledge is that you need to have.
Absolutely. Shelley, give us the last word.
We need to focus on bringing everyone together and tapping into that collective wisdom. And I'm going to be spending some time on your site, Terry. Thank you so much for being here
Molto
today.
piacere, we say in Italian.
Now, what does that mean?
It means the pleasure was mine.
Oh, I love it. And the pleasure is ours as well. Thank you so much for joining us today on Business Over Coffee. We are wrapping up on this wonderful episode that has been more introspective, developmental, inspirational. I'm Sherry Henley, founder and CEO of Business Over Coffee International. You can find us at businessovercoffee.com. We encourage you to go there. You can also find me at sherryhenley.com and my co-host, Shelley Baur, at ShelleyBaur.com. That's ShelleyBaur.com, or IntegrityBasedCommunications.com. And make sure you get these books You're a co-author of this book, correct?
Well, no,
Terry?
actually, it's George Lucas. I did the women's section.
Women's section on The 1 Minute Negotiator with Don Hudson and George Lucas, Don Hudson being your husband. And Terry has written in here as well. And also Don Hudson, her husband, wrote the book, The 1 Minute Entrepreneur, which we referred to earlier. So make sure you check that out on what site?
womenswisdomnetwork.info.
There you go. Until next time, continue bringing everyone together.